What's going on, guys? It's Malcolm, and welcome to the Loung'n podcast. Today's episode is Real Talk, exploring upcoming blockbusters and theater tales. All right, so for the last few episodes I've been doing topics, like 3 topics to be exact. And the 3 topics that I got today, which starting off with the first one, I want to be talking about my time spent at working at the movie theaters. I started working there in 2007 and got fired in 2014. All right. And the second topic I'm going to talk about is my 3 most favorite movies. Yeah, I'm going to talk about why they're my most favorite movies, and hopefully you all agree. If you don't, then you don't. All right, and then the last topic I want to talk about is my 3 most anticipated movies coming up, okay? So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and hop into the first topic, which is my experience at the theaters, The Great Escape. You know, I talked about that from time to time on the podcast in my previous episodes, one on my Dad Gang episode, and I forget which other episodes I've talked about it, but for the most part, I feel like I've had a great experience working at the theaters, man. I mean, it was really the perfect job. Honestly, like, the people I work with are the people I went to school with, and they're the same people that I am still friends with to this day for the most part. I mean, you know, I still keep in contact with some other people from time to time here and there, but for the most part, the people that I really like actually hung out with outside of the theaters back then are still the same people that I hang out with and talk to till this day. Right, I had a couple of them here on the podcast for the Dad Gang episode, and that was a blast. You know, just taking a trip down memory lane, us just reminiscing about just the crazy shit that we used to get into while watching movies and shit. You know, and I remember even before I started working at the theaters, my brother Maurice, he passed away back in 2016, and yeah, he's who got. I guess he really actually got that ball rolling, to be honest, because he was the first person who was working at the theaters. And then, like, he, you know, asked me if I wanted to get a job there. And as you heard on the Dad Gang episode, like, he played these pranks on me and my buddy Nick, who was also on the podcast, like, pranking us to shave our beards, saying that was, like, required for us to not have a beard, and so we shaved it that day before, you know, our first day going into the theaters, and it was all in good fun. And it was just shit like that we all just participated in, you know, some pranks, just some good times with some good people, watching good movies for the most part. All right. And yeah, I really do think that really helped shape me and mold me into who I am today. And honestly, I think the theaters has kind of spoiled other jobs, because in no way, shape, or form has any other job that I've had ever have been nearly as, like, half as fun as the theaters was. You know what I mean? And I'll admit, I stuck around a lot longer than I should have. I don't say a lot longer, but I stuck around a little bit longer than I should have, because I guess I was trying to, like, hang on to what once was. And so, yeah, it just, I don't know, after a certain point, it was just a shell of what it once was. And I guess I wasn't really ready to let go of, you know, the good times that we shared there, because there were many good times throughout the 7 years. And I'm just grateful to have gotten to have that experience with everyone. And like I said, my brother got that ball rolling for everybody to start working there. Like, he got me the job there, got my buddy Nick the job there, and then, like, it's like when 1 or 2 people started working there, and then 3 and 4, and before you knew it, we were just a whole damn crew, just a wrecking crew, basically. You know, we were just, man, this that literally was like the glory days, man. God, man, I would pay good money to even just go back a week, like, and just relive or rework those days, you know, because it was just madness sometimes, especially when certain movies would come out, like Tyler Perry. Every single fucking Tyler Perry movie that came out just left us in this, like, wrecked state after everybody was already inside the theaters. Like, popcorn would be everywhere. You know, somebody was getting, you know, medical attention because, you know, It was like a freaking war, man. Like medic. Nah, but after the movie started and shit like that, it was a good time because we kind of reflect on like the customers that came in and just the experience of that last set and how busy it was while we're refilling up the refreshments, like the stocking up the popcorn seeds, making sure the Cokes in the back were refilled, or filled up. And it was always funny because whenever we replaced the little Cokes, because the syrup came in like these bags that were cased inside the cardboard boxes, and it had a little cutout piece for you to like punch through and pull the nozzle through once you pull that little cardboard piece out. And we would always just punch the fuck out of those cardboard boxes to get the nozzle through. It was like a good stress reliever, like one of those stress balls or something like that. That was a good way for us to get our stress out, was to punch those fucking cardboard boxes. And they were heavy as fuck too, man. Like, I didn't mind changing the Cokes whenever they were empty, but it was always a task to go get a Sprite or whatever, and you have to like fucking lug it over your shoulder, then carry it over to the little dispenser and hook it up, and then that was that. But for the most part, I mean, it was all good fun. I really didn't mind most of the work that we did there, right? So okay, so now like last time, I may prepare some questions for me to ask myself and to answer in regards to the movie theater. So I can keep it like in a nice format, structured I guess, format is what I'm trying to say. Forgive me, I am extremely tired. It's like 10:30 right now, and yeah, I was like, man, I really need to get up and do this, but I really want to go to bed right now. I really want to play the PlayStation, so I might play the PlayStation. It's my Friday coming up, so I got the weekend off, and yeah, so I got some thunders coming up on Saturday, but on Saturday morning we're gonna get up and set up the pool and shit like that. I got to do some weed eating, which is like one of my most hated jobs around the house. Ugh. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and get into these questions. All right. So the first question is, what was your favorite movie that you got to watch for free while working at the theaters, and why did it stand out to you? My favorite movie that I got to see for free, and I got to see it for free many times over. I even went to a different location to see it, because I get to a point where I loved experiencing the theater or experiencing the movie and listening, or I guess while listening to the audience's reaction. You know what I mean? Like, I would go to this showing and I would sit and just like look around and listen to how the audience will react to certain parts, like parts that I really liked about the movie. And the movie I'm talking about is the first Transformers back in 2007. That was like a month before I actually started working. I don't even know if it was actually a month before I started working. Might have been a little bit less, but I remember even back in high school, like, I seen teaser trailers, teaser posters, like the concept art and all that shit. Like, I was heavily invested in finding out as much as I could about this movie, right? And so the time was coming, it was approaching, it's like June, because I'm pretty sure that it came out June 6th or I think it was July. Or Alexa. Oh shit, Alexa's not even working. But I think it came out in like July 3rd or July 6th or something like that. So I started working there in July, I'm pretty sure. But anyways, I remember I was trying to hold out because I'd already seen movies before the movies would come out due to my brother working at the theaters, because we had this thing that we did was just screening the movie before it came out, because back then the movie came into these big orange canisters, and it was in film. And so they would have somebody who would go upstairs and put the film together, because it's separate canisters. And so you had to put it all together and then, like, I guess, thread it up, and you would have to screen it in order to make sure that it was all put together properly before showing it to the public. And so we made a thing out of it, whenever this movie was, put together and was going to be screened, we'd watch this, we watched that, and Transformers was the one movie that I was waiting to see with the public because, again, I wanted to react with the audience. I wanted to be just as surprised as the audience. I wanted it to be a packed theater. I wanted to God, man, I want to go back and relive that. I really do. Cause I just remember, like I said, I was just trying to hold out until the actual release day. But I remember, I don't even know what day it was. I think it was 3 or 4 days before it even came out. And I was at home for whatever reason, being lame. And it was at night. And I remember my brother just come barging in the door like, hey, man, hey, look, we got Transformers in. Do you want to see it? And I'm like, I feel like I didn't have enough time to react properly. And I'm like, I want to wait, but I want to see it. And so I'm just like, yeah, I want to see it. And I got ready. We went back to the theaters because we lived walking distance, maybe 10 minutes from the theaters. It was really just a hop, skip, and a jump, for real. I would always have my iPod walking to the theaters and walking back, before and after my shift and shit. And it would only take maybe 2 or 3 songs from the time I started walking from my apartment to the theaters, and I'd be there, right? But anyways, we got to the theater, and man, I'm just so excited. I'm so impatient. I'm so everything, because I've always been a Transformers fan, and now this point that's been leading up from when I was in high school, seeing all those teaser posters and teaser trailers and shit, has just led up to this moment, and I'm finally getting to see Transformers before it even came out to the public. 3 days before it came out to the public, 3 or 4, I can't remember. But anyways, yeah, I finally get to see it. And I just remember just sitting in that theater, just smile, just from ear to ear, just in awe, just can't believe just every part of it. Optimus Prime, you got Bumblebee, you got Megatron, you got everybody in this fucking movie. Tyrese is in there, fucking Shia LaBeouf and shit. I'm like, damn, this movie is off the hook. I mean, there's so many parts in that movie that it was really a kid's dream. And I felt that kid was living vicariously through me watching that movie at that time. And it was just an amazing experience. And shout out to my brother for real, just coming through clutch for me whenever, even though I don't even know if I expressed it to him that I was just trying to hold out till the movie actually came out with the audience or whatever, but I do remember that being man, that is one moment that I will always remember that just, I got Transformers everything, man. I really do. I remember he even bought me this wallet for just because I guess they were in Hot Topic, and he bought me this Transformers wallet. It was Optimus Prime, and it had the Autobot insignia on the other side, and it was raised. And it was actually, I don't think it was metal, but it was kind of maybe some sort of hard plastic that kind of looked like metal, but it was cool. And I still got it. It's really worn out, but yeah, I still got it. It's a nice memorabilia that I like to have for my brother. You know what I mean? So yeah, that was a great experience that that's always stood out to me, and that will always stand out to me because it was just a memorable and a memory that I'll always cherish because, again, I'm a big Transformers fan, and I don't know every single Transformer show, movie, every Autobot, every Decepticon, you know what I mean? I love the concept of Transformers. I love that, there was a war that was on Cybertron, and there was a, Megatron and Optimus Prime were friends before the war started, and Optimus Prime was Orion Pax before, being Optimus Prime. And there, there's just such a lot of lore and history when it comes to the Transformers that I just, I greatly appreciate, so I don't think that you have to know every single minute detail about whatever that you're a fan of to be considered a fan. So that's just how I feel about that. Okay. So moving on to the second question. Can you recall a particularly memorable or funny moment that happened during your time working at The Great Escape that still makes you laugh to this day? Ooh, man, that's a good question. I mean, there's been so many different things that has happened there that has maybe that I I want to say like whenever my brother played that trick on us about, shaving and stuff like that. But I don't know, I wouldn't say funny moment, but there was a really cool moment that I think I talked about on my um one of my other episodes where I talked about Cedric the Entertainer coming into the fucking theaters. And I just remember just it being like the most dead Wednesday ever. I'm sitting at the podium, feeling like Jeezy. I'm standing at the podium. I'm trying to watch my sodium. Nah, I'm joking now. Not for real. I was standing at the podium, just tearing tickets, and it wasn't really anybody coming in for me to tear tickets, right? So I just really felt like I was just up there, just bored out of my mind, wishing wishing I could be home, or even just watching a movie, just being off watching a movie. Because if I wasn't really like doing anything and wanted something to do, I can just go up there and watch a movie. But I'm just standing at this podium, and it's during the day too. It's like maybe sometime afternoon or something like that. And I see somebody come into the theater, and and already off the bat, man, this dude looks, hella familiar. And I see that he has like a red St. Louis ball cap on. He has a black pea coat, not one of those long black pea coats, but one that comes up to your waist or goes down to your waist. Some jeans on, regular sneakers, and he kind of like, he's like looking around and shit like that, just kind of, I want to say like, almost like he was casing the place, you know what I mean? And so, I'm just watching this dude. He goes to the box office where he buys his tickets, and then he's like getting closer, and I'm like, holy shit. And then I recognize this motherfucker is Cedric the Entertainer, bro. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, out of like all days, out of all people, like Cedric the Entertainer is like right here approaching me for me to tear his fucking ticket. And I'm like, mine is blowing, like, but I'm not freaking out like that. I like take a step back and I kind of like laugh a little bit to myself, because that's how I react when some things happen. I just like, I can't help but to laugh a little bit. And he knew that I recognized him, right? And so he started laughing a little bit. And so then I was just like, hey, what's up, man? And, I can't believe how like calm I was, because I wasn't freaking out or anything like that. I kind of actually treated him like, another customer. But in a sense, I still treated him like I recognized who he was, right? And so I asked how he was doing. He's like, oh, I'm all right, I'm good. You know what I mean? I was like, okay. So I showed him to his movie and shit like that. I was like, let me know if you need anything, X, Y, and Z. And then like I told everybody. I wasn't trying to tell everybody, but I was just like, God damn, we got a fucking like a pretty big celebrity here, man. A pretty big fucking celebrity here in the theater just watching Tower Heist. That's the movie he came to watch with Eddie Murphy, Matthew Broderick, Casey Affleck, and the old dude from MASH. I can't remember his name. I can never remember his name. But yeah, that was the movie he was coming to watch. And I remember like, I want to say it did create a little bit of a buzz, because by the time he came out, a couple people got their pictures taken with him, but he was still trying to, like, as you can see, he was like looking around to make sure not too many more people were noticing him, so he can like, you can go ahead and get out of there. But I do remember, believe it or not, that like I was outside smoking, because I smoked at the time, and apparently one of his people asked for me, right? And I can't remember what they asked for me for, or what they needed. But when I came back in, I do remember calling him a cab. And cause me and my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and my roommate and a few friends, we used to go out to some clubs during the weekend, and we always had this dude who was a cabbie, and he had a van. And he had a big van so he could fit all of us inside. And so he came with like either one or two other dudes, and I want to say two other women. And so like I called the cab for him to come pick up Cedric the Entertainer. And so I remember calling and I was like, hey, can I get a cab for the Great Escape or whatever in Clarksville, Indiana? It's like, yeah, sure. Who's it going to be for? I was like, Cedric the Entertainer. And like, what? I was like, yes. I was like, Cedric the Entertainer. And like, I had to like repeat it again for them to like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, I'm sure. Like, I'm being serious. Like, get here and you will see. Right. So they did. And then before Cedric ended up leaving, like I ended up texting my brother, like, you know, he's here, you know what I'm saying? Like Cedric, so he's watching Tower Heist and shit. It wasn't even like 15 minutes later, my brother was up there, man. And he was like, you know, looking around like, where's he? Like, he's up in Tower Heist, be cool, this, that, and the other, or whatever. But then like later on, maybe 5 minutes later after my brother got into the theater, he sends me that text like, I can see him. I imagine him whispering that, like, even though he sent me the text, that's what he sent me. But yeah, that's another cool memory that stood out to me for sure, is that just the craziest. It was a boring Wednesday, you know, just never would have thought in my wildest dreams that I would have been tearing Cedric the Entertainer's ticket, and let alone calling him a fucking cab, right? And then oh, shit. I don't forget what I was about to say. Oh well. But it was a funny moment. It was a cool moment. It was everything that was just, I don't know. It just really made my day, you know, and I didn't get a picture with him. And that's one of my biggest regrets, is not getting a picture with him. But I think, you know, he appreciated the fact that I didn't like freak out, even though I told people that he was there and shit. Oh yeah, what I was want to say is that damn, I already forgot again. What the fuck? It was like right there, and I had it again. I'm like, all right, yeah, I'm about to say it, okay. And then I forgot, man. Damn, come on, bro. Shit. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and go to the third question. How did working at the movie theaters alongside your brother and high school friends enhance your overall experience? And did it create any unique or special memories that you cherish? And yeah, I mean, it definitely created a lot of unique, special memories that we all cherish, because I mean, I could say we all cherish because, I mean, we all still talk about it to this day. So, I mean, obviously it's resonated with us to, you know, a great deal. And so I think that, shoot, I remember my buddy Braxton, who worked there, he he told this story. Like, we always used to go to his crib in his basement because that's where his room was. And his mom was super cool about everybody coming over, just honestly just getting just wrecked, just drinking, smoking, just playing Guitar Hero. I think it was the Garage Band too, and UFC and all these other fucking games. Like, it was like honestly the most perfect like hangout spot, you know, for some people who were just in their early 20s, just, you know, looking to get fucked up and have a good time. I mean, create some good memories with some, you know, friends who, you know, people who we're still friends with to this day. And I remember, I don't know, I can't remember if he said it was like New Year's or something like that, but we all went over to his crib. We got drunk, and I guess somebody who was there at his crib didn't show up to the theaters to work that next shift the next morning. And so one of the managers called him. I'm like, hey, do you know where so-and-so is? They didn't come in to work today. So they're like, yeah, he's on my floor, passed out right now. She's like, oh, well, fuck. Well, do you know where so-and-so is? You know, because I need to see if he can work. Yeah, he's passed out on the floor too. Went on to the next person. Yeah, he's passed out on the floor too. You know, so I mean, that was like, I don't want to say it was a regular thing, but I mean, it wasn't, you know, it was every so often, you know, maybe like it might not be, say, this weekend, but the next weekend, maybe the next weekend too, but maybe not the next weekend. You know what I'm saying? We were always into some shit, you know, even if, you know, it was just going over, just chill, maybe smoke a little bit, drink a little bit. It wasn't, you know, it didn't always have to be a lot, but yeah, I mean, we did everything, man. We did everything together. I mean, we would go and grab something to eat before, say, if a big movie was coming out. Like I remember Superbad and like all the Judd Apatow movies coming out back then were very popular. Like I said, Superbad, This Is the End, not Step Brothers. Yeah, Step Brothers. What else? I'm thinking about I Love You, Man. Like all those movies were popular back then, and we loved watching those movies. Like Go Out to Eat. Like when I say go out to eat, we probably went up to Burger King or something like that. That was around the corner. Grabbed a bite to eat. They came back, and sometimes we'd even go get some alcohol and like, you know what I'm saying, sneak it into the theater. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? For real. Like I'm not even joking, bro. We just made it a thing. That was our thing, man. That like it was just. Again, like I would pay good money to go back and relive those memories, even for like a week. You know what I mean? And just, and even then, if I came back, I'd feel like it wasn't enough. I feel like a week wasn't long enough. You know what I mean? And it was just, man, every single time it was always just, you know, comical there. You know, it was always, you know, laughter. It was always just a good time. There was barely any animosity towards anybody there, for real, for real. A little bit, you know, but for the most part, I mean, we all got along, you know what I mean? And it wasn't like we were just putting up with working there, because we thoroughly liked that job well enough. Excuse me. We liked it so much because even though they paid us like minimal wage, we all just liked working there, man. That camaraderie, that freaking just, you know, I don't say it gave us purpose, but it kind of gave me purpose to wake up in the morning. You know, I actually like going to work in the morning. Like when I wake up now, it's really like me peeling myself out of bed, trying to motivate myself to, you know, get ready, get in the shower, do this, do that. And it's just such a drag, you know what I mean? Versus back then, it was just like, oh, if I knew I was working with Nick, or if I knew I was working with my brother, if I knew I worked with Derek, whoever, you know what I mean? Or whatever manager. We had like the coolest managers, the GM, you know, from Ross to Carmen to Justin, like all of them, they're the OGs, you know, for real. I just loved working with every single one of them. Like I really did. And I mean, they made us feel welcome there. They really did. You know what I mean? I mean, it was so cool because they were able to balance the whole, like, you know, being cool with us, but yet still being our managers. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of the reasons why things never really got too out of hand, because we respected them. You know what I mean? Like there was a great deal of respect. And I think that went both ways for the most part. You know what I mean? At least for them, you know, because some others, I can't really say that at all about, man, because shit, man. Nah. But yeah, it was just, I think it really just painted that big picture for us to be friends. Or it started like, it was the blank canvas of us like being friends. You know what I mean? And like each year, each movie or whatever we worked through, it was just, you know, adding more layers to that canvas of what we are today. You know what I mean? Hopefully that's a good metaphor, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, so moving on to the fourth question. All right. Reflecting on your time at the theater, can you share a challenging or difficult situation you encountered while working, and how did you handle it? This could go back to the one that was like funny. The second question where it's like, you know, can I recall a funny moment? But the funny moment was, I remember this Hispanic family came in, and it was a dad, a mom, and I think they had their 2 kids. And I think maybe one of the kids had like their boyfriend or something like that. But anyways, they told us to order because I was working at the concession one day. And sometimes like you might work the box office and then slide down to the concessions and then get the order for the popcorn and everything. And then, you know, just not see them off to the movie, but, you know, okay, your movies and whatever, you know, enjoy your movie and all that stuff. And they'd always be like, you too. But anyways, when it would get busy, we would have like sometimes a runner. So I'd take the order, put it into the computer, and somebody behind me would hear, say if so-and-so wanted a large popcorn, that person would hear the large popcorn order, go get the popcorn. So all I had to do was the whole transaction was just take the money, put it into the cash register, and give them their change, right? And their receipt. And the runner would get the refreshments, the drinks, the popcorn, the candy, etc. And so I remember the dad was like, he wanted a large popcorn. And he's like, no butter. I'm like, okay, all right, no butter. And that's what I told the dude that was running. I can't remember who the runner was. I totally out that motherfucker. If I knew who he was, but I couldn't remember who the runner was. But motherfucker brought back popcorn with butter, and the fucking father freaked out. And this father was like, he been through some shit. Like, I wouldn't doubt. I'm pretty sure this motherfucker was probably in some gang when he was younger. I'm not even joking when I say that shit. Dude was built like Ving Rhames, like. Imagine a Hispanic Ving Rhames, motherfucker, like baby boy just got out of prison shit. You know what I mean? Imagine that motherfucker told you no butter on the popcorn, but your runner came back with some buttered popcorn, and he flipped out. He said, "I said no. I told you no." I'm like, I told him no too. I told him no too. Yeah, man. It's like, goddamn, bro, you almost got my head taken off for some butter on the popcorn, bro. What's going on? Shit, like, man, I think about that shit to this day still, bro. Just, that's all I hear. It's like, I told you no. I'm like, you didn't, like, you told me and I told him, but he didn't, like, I don't know what happened. Miscommunication. I'm sorry. This shit was just, man, it was funny looking back on it. I mean, honestly, I really didn't think I was in danger. Well, I mean, maybe for like 5 minutes I did, but... But the wife, she like sent him off to like go like do whatever, I guess, to calm down and shit like that, because I guess he just didn't like butter on his popcorn, right? But yeah, other than that, like something that like I've encountered, something difficult was actually getting fired, man, because I feel like I was wrongfully terminated, to be honest, because there was other stuff that was going on there that I felt like other people should have been terminated for way before me being terminated. Because, all right, I was like half an hour late one day because I missed my bus. I caught the bus back then, and I ended up walking from where I lived. At that point, I moved a little bit further away, which was like, I guess 20 extra minutes walking time. And I ended up walking to the theater after I missed my bus. And so I was 30 minutes late. Called them, let them know I was going to be 30 minutes late because I missed my bus, which I get that. I was late. Being late, I'm late. That's whatever. And I think somebody scheduled me. Another instance is like somebody scheduled me on the same day I worked at my other job. And I had an agreement with whoever, like, I work these days at this job and I work these days at that job. And so there was I guess like somebody just fucked up. All right. It wasn't me. And so I called off so I can work in my other job because I was making more money at my other job. It made more sense for me to work there, right? And so they terminated me for the half hour that I was late that one day of missing the bus. And this is probably like a week or two later, you know what I mean? Like if that, or not if that, but maybe a little bit more. I don't know. I can't remember the time frame. But anyways, they terminated me for being half an hour late and calling out that one day, whereas there was other people who was abusing, being tardy excessively, like it was way overboard, right? How much these people would come in late or do this or do that would go overlooked and unnoticed, versus me being late only 30 minutes one day and then having to call out another day. Right. And it just seemed like that person just wanted me out of there. And to this day, like, I don't know if I could really, like, show that person any respect, because I really do feel like it was favoritism going on. I think after a certain point, it was favoritism. I really will say that, and I stand my ground on that to this day. And it is what it is. I mean, hey, people were younger back then, whatever, but still, it still, rubs me the wrong way. And so that was just a bad experience that I had, and I guess it did me a favor in the long run, because I needed to let that place go. Like I said earlier, I was just holding on to what once was, and it was just, time for me to move on. And so, yeah, in a way, they did me a favor, but still, I feel like how they went about things and trying to use those two instances to get rid of me was just bullshit, to be honest, for lack of a better word. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I'm here today, and I'm a better person for it, right? All right. So I think we're on question number 5. All right. So in terms of customer interactions, what was one memorable encounter with the moviegoer, good or bad, that has stuck with you over the years? I mean, there's been quite a bit. I mean, we would always have like some of the regulars that would come in, like a handful of regulars. And I remember there was this old dude, and I don't say old dude, but I mean, he was old, but I don't want to you just call him straight up an old dude, but he might have been in like 60s, mid 60s or something like that. Black dude. I don't know at what point did he decide, you know what, I'm just going to walk straight in, wave to these people, not pay a damn dime, and go straight to a movie. I mean, he'd say what's up, here, like, hey, here and there and stuff like that. But it was to the point to where we didn't realize until after maybe this dude had already seen like 10 movies or something like that. Like, he'd come in, he'd look at us, he'd wave, and he'd just keep walking on. And then I can't remember who said anything, but somebody was just like, does anybody ever remember him ever paying? And like, it was just like, no, I mean, I guess at this point, like, do we make him pay? Like, dude was he was smooth, man. He just came in there, hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, all right, yeah. And just went on to his movie, man. Like, never paid a dime, man. Dude was caught up on all the flicks. He man, like, for real, like, kudos to that dude. Like, for real, like that. But again, yeah, we had like plenty of regulars and stuff like that, just really helped the experience. And I remember, like my mailman, I guess one of the mailmen that we have today, he was one of the regulars whenever I worked at the theater. And I remember like seeing him, it was probably like sometime last year. I think it was like last summer or something like that. When like, he's like, you used to work at the movies, right? I'm like, yeah. And then so we just got into a little conversation about, just the movies and shit like that. And, it's just cool. Just, my mailman is just, you used to be one of the regulars. And I remember, like I said, I worked both jobs or 2 jobs back then. And I remember I was working both jobs in one day, right? So I worked at the theaters from like I want to say like 10:30 or something like that to 5:30. No. It was like a senior show, and I had to be there at like 7:30 or something like that to let them like to get ready so they can be there at 8:00. And like the seniors were like the messiest people. I'm sorry, but like even like after a freaking Tyler Perry movie, even seeing like boxes of freaking like hot wings here and there and, all this other shit, like nobody like dirty the theaters like the senior citizens would. All right. But anyways, I got there like 8:00, got off at 5:30, and I had to be at Walmart at 6. So I would like hurry up and change at the theaters as soon as I got off and walk up to Walmart, which is like maybe like a 10-15 minute walk, clock in. And so I'm at Walmart after a couple of hours, and I see the same people who I served at the theaters at Walmart. They're like, "Didn't we just see you at the theaters?" I'm like, "Yeah, man." They're like, "Damn, man, where else you work at?" And I'm like, "Man, yeah, it was funny." You know what I mean? So, but man, it was just always a good time. You know what I mean? So many good memories from that place, for real, for real. You know what I mean? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and move on to the sixth question because I'm going on 40 minutes at this point. Wow, I can really talk, man. And my apologies for not getting an episode out last week. I don't know if I mentioned that or not yet, but I was supposed to have a guest on my podcast last Sunday, so I can have one ready for last week or the Sunday beforehand. I can't remember. But anyways, needed to reschedule for that, so now I'm doing this or whatever. And yeah, so my apologies for that. And yeah, let me go ahead and get to the sixth question. During your tenure at The Great Escape, what improvements or changes do you think have been made to enhance the overall movie watching experience for both employees and patrons? What enhancements? I mean, I think whenever they switch from film to like digital, I remember that being a big deal because I think that's when like Avatar came out. Yeah, whenever the first Avatar came out, and the 3D for that movie was insane. That's when I first started dating my now wife. And I was taking her to the theaters as like dates and shit, it was like free dates. But yeah, I remember like watching that movie and just being like, God, this is so crazy. And that was like just shortly after we got the digital projectors, and the quality and the movies just, I guess, rose like quite a bit. You know what I mean? And it really did improve the quality, in my opinion. And I don't know if the customers really noticed. I'm pretty sure some did, because, I mean, you got some people who are big fans of, like, HD and Blu-ray and stuff like that, so they probably noticed the difference in the quality of the movies. But I would say that was probably a good movie watching experience. And sometimes, if, we knew the customers and stuff like that, sometimes we get them free popcorn, maybe a free drink or something like that, I mean, that older dude wasn't the only one getting free shit, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, I think that was a good experience for both, because it allowed us to do more. Because that allowed us to even hook up a freaking PlayStation 2 to the projector and play fucking Guitar Hero on one of the screens, man. That was, goddamn, that was such a great time. I'm telling you, man, like, that was really the best. That really was the best job I've ever had, man. Just all the stuff we did. Like, now that I'm thinking about it more, just more stuff just come flooding back and whatnot. Man, maybe I'm gonna have to revisit this another episode or something like that. But yeah. All right. So now that I got those questions and the first topic out of the way, I'm going to move on to the second topic, which is my top movies. All right. So I got my top 3 favorite movies that I want to talk about. My first one, and this isn't in any order, best from worst or anything like that, but just got them all numbered. So first one I have is Friday. Friday is one of my favorite movies of all time. I mean, with Ice Cube and Chris Tucker, you got Bernie Mac in there, you got freaking Big Worm, Faison Love, you got what's his name, Tiny Lister Jr. as Debo. Shoot, you got what's his name, god dang, Ezel. I forget the dude what's his name that played Ezel, but you got him in there. There's like so many different people. I mean, and that movie's still quotable to this day, like Bye Felicia. And I don't know if y'all noticed, but whenever Craig's girlfriend in the beginning called him asking who the fuck he went to the show with last night, that she had a dude in the bed with her as she's grilling Craig. Like, what the like, what kind of shit is that? And like, I just remember just like Smokey being the coolest character. I mean, like that movie was paced well, man. I mean, and even when it got serious, I mean, you got John Witherspoon, who was just like the funniest, father figure. But then when shit got serious, he actually dropped some good gems for Craig. Like when he found Craig, like, putting the gun in his pants, or I guess he was about to put the gun in his pants to go walk Smokey home just to protect him because Big Worm basically put a hit out on him, right? And so he saw the gun and he's like, what's that? He's like, protection. He's like, protection for what? He's like, man, I got to go walk Smokey home. And you know how it is around here. And he's like, you know what? We never would have moved into this neighborhood if we knew you needed to pick up a gun just to walk down the street. And like that, like right there, was amazing. That whole interaction between Craig and his father was amazing. And even like the comedic tone of that movie was just always on par. Like it wasn't too much. It didn't feel like you needed more or anything like that. And like the movie felt like lived in. It felt like realistic. You know what I mean? Like shit like that just happens every day. And I feel like that's why I like that movie, because not that I lived that, but it can be extremely relatable. You know what I mean? And it doesn't seem like there's anything. The only thing that's probably unrealistic is how high Red flew after Debo just knocked his ass out, right? Oh man, I remember like for the longest time, like, you got knocked the fuck out. Like that was a quote that you heard for a long time, bro. God damn. That, like, for real, like that movie still holds up. I would always hold that movie as one of my top threes. For real. Like they did a good job with that movie. And I can't remember how much it cost to make that movie, but I don't think it was that much. And it spawned next Friday and Friday after next, which those were funny movies, but in my opinion, it wasn't nearly as funny as the first movie. And I felt like the first movie felt more original. It felt more authentic. You know what I mean? Because then, like, I think they had to like try to ante up the next two movies, so it kind of got a little sillier and sillier. But for the most part, I really do think that like the first one is a little bit more relatable, a little bit more realistic, and just, excuse me, everything about that movie is just perfect. 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, just perfect, just all around movie. You know what I mean? All right. So, my second favorite movie is the Transformers that I got to watch like days before it came out. Michael Bay, say what you want about him in his movies, but I really like the tone of the movie. I like that it felt, like the stakes were high when it came to that movie. And I really do like the coloration of the movies. It kind of felt like very warm, just warm colorations. And it felt like, just a little bit gritty too as well. And I just loved Peter Cullen, like, reprising this role as Optimus Prime. And I think that movie really set up Peter Cullen to portray Optimus Prime for quite some time after that point. And a lot of Optimus iterations were pretty much inspired by Peter Cullen's, portrayal of Optimus in the 2007 Transformers. You know what I mean? And again, like, I anticipated that movie for quite some time, like from the time I was in high school, like looking at those, teaser trailers. I remember that one teaser trailer where they sent the rover to Mars. And as it's like, driving around and the camera pans over, you hear like the footsteps of the transformer that's on Mars. And as just before it gets an actual glimpse of the transformer, the footage cuts out because it destroys the rover. You know what I mean? I remember just like my mind being blown when I seen that trailer. I was like, oh my God, I can't wait till this fucking movie comes out. Like, oh my God, man. That movie, yeah, it really transcended, just live action stuff for me. It really did. And I think Megatron was extremely cool. I really wish that Bumblebee didn't lose his voice. There's some, flaws about that movie, but for the most part, like, I can watch that movie today, I can watch it next week, and I can watch that movie like a year or two, maybe even 5 years from now, and it still hold up for me. It's one of those movies that, like, I would like to plan to watch, you know what I mean? Say, like, a Friday night. I'm like, I'm about to watch, that Transformers. I'm going to give me some popcorn. I'm going to give me some candy. I'm going to make it a little event. I want to make it a thing because it just means that much to me, So I really do think that movie just, I don't know. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, it's still going to this day. Transformers. I mean, what, 2007, whenever that came out, and it's 2024, so almost 20 years later. That is crazy. What is that? 17 years ago, right? Or is my math off? I think it was 17 years ago, right? Yep. But yeah, I mean, I think the voice acting was great. Just Megan Fox. Up until this whole Machine Gun Kelly thing, I had like a huge crush on Megan Fox, man. I don't care what you say, whatever. Like, I thought, like, especially when she was in New Girl, too. I was like, God damn, how can I become an actor so I can just say what's up to her at the very least? I'm just, for real. And I ain't gonna lie, like, for real. Like, I did have a crush on Megan Fox up until, like, the whole Machine Gun Kelly relationship thing or whatever. But yeah, all right. So that's my second favorite movie. And my third is the original 1990s TMNT live action movie. No Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie to this day, no show, no nothing, holds a candle to that motherfucking movie. I don't care what you got to say. I don't care which one you think is, well, actually, no, fuck that shit. No, that movie is legend, okay? Like, I'm serious. Like, there's so many quotable lines from that movie. Like, when Ralph was on the fucking rooftop and, like, he's upset after him and Leo got into that fight while they were at April's apartment. And then, like, the foot ninjas start creeping in. And then that's when they try to jump him. But then he gets the upper hand on him. But then he's just like, come on, how do you expect to beat me? And then they start coming out, a little bit more, or a lot more, actually. And then he's like, good answer. Good answer. Like, that was great writing. Like, I've never been to New York, but that's exactly what I imagine New York feeling like. They really captured the essence of New York. You know what I mean? And I loved how, like, the sewer actually felt like they were living in the sewer. Like, they'd be talking with one another, and you would hear, like, the leaking and all this other stuff in the sewer, and it just kind of felt a little gross. Like, you didn't want to, like, sit down. Like, can I get a towel to lay on this couch so I can, sit on it or something like that? And, like, Splinter. I mean, Splinter was amazing. Like, whenever he had a talk with Raphael about, once Raphael came in really late, wanted to, talk to him about his anger. Like, he tries to channel his anger, but still more remains. You know what I mean? And I remember Splinter talking to the Turtles about not being there, and what they might have to do after that. And whenever Mikey was waiting for the pizza man to show up, and Donnie tried to have, like, an actual real conversation with Mikey just brushed it off. He's like, hey, have you ever thought about what Splinter said, about not having him? And he's like, well, Pizza Man's late, like, he just brushes it off because Mikey, it just kind of shows, like, I don't want to say the immaturity of Mikey at that time, but he just wasn't ready to, I guess, really even think about Splinter not being there. And so that's why he brushed off that point or that conversation, and focused on something else by changing the subject. You know what I mean? And fun fact, when they went to the farm, when Raphael, in quotations, was up on top of the farmhouse yelling, Splinter, that wasn't Raphael. That was actually Mikey. If you go back and watch that movie, you look at his waist, you see nunchucks. And they had the voice actor of Raphael voice over Mikey's yelling out, because I guess they didn't really want Mikey to be, they didn't want to put Mikey in that, I don't know, like I guess they felt like it would be out of character for Mikey. You know what I mean? He was the one that was punching the punching bag in the farmhouse. You know what I mean? In that moment where they're all meditating around the fire and then Splinter shows up, you really felt that speech that he was giving his sons. Like, just thinking about it right now just gives me goosebumps, man. I really just, I love that movie. I love that movie. And I love, like, just even like the the opening after April gets jumped and they knock out the lights and they end up just whooping up on the dudes and tying them up. So when the cops got there, all they had to do was just take them away. April took the side, and then Raphael was like, damn. And they just like descended into the sewers, and then I dun you know, and that music just starts. Oh my gosh, that's such a great moment. Such a great moment. You cannot tell me any other movie was better than that movie. I'm sorry. That's another popcorn worthy movie. Like, if you know, me eating popcorn at home is a rarity. Like, my wife and my daughter, they love popcorn. So they'll eat it on, I don't want to say a regular, but, you know, they'll eat it, at least eat it a couple times a week, right? But me, if I want to eat popcorn while watching a movie, that means it's special, right? Because it's taking me back to the theaters, right? So that's forever going to be one of the best movies ever. To touch this fucking earth, man. To bless the silver screen, you know what I mean? Like, and fucking the parents, man, they had a problem with their weapons being used in that movie. So that's why the second movie, there wasn't any weapons used. And it was a lot more like lighthearted and goofier and shit like that, which, don't get me wrong, it's a good movie. But again, still, I love the grittiness and the raw aspect of the first movie, man. It really just, oh my gosh. Even like when Raphael was, after he got jumped and he fell through the ceiling, and when they retreated to the farmhouse, and he's in a tub, that was a big crucial moment for them because they suffered their first loss. You know what I mean? And so Splinter, they don't know if he's alive or dead or where he's at, and they don't know what to do. You know, they don't know how to communicate with one another about how they're feeling, what to do. And Raphael's in the tub, unconscious. So, I mean, that was a big crucial moment for them. You know what I mean? And once they got back, once Raphael woke back up, and after they had that session of that meditation session where they got to speak to Splinter, that's when, you know, in that moment where, like, this was such a great shot, man. Like, when they were all standing side by side after they had been, you know, sparring with one another, like getting back into the groove of things. And then, like, Casey and April was sitting on the front porch, and they were like, it's time to go back. And when they pan to them, and you can see their silhouettes. You can kind of see them, but you really couldn't tell who was who because it was kind of like, you know, the sun was setting and it was kind of dark. But then, like, that moment, like, you know, it's time to go back to New York. We got to go now. Like, at that moment, dude, that was, it's such a great movie, man. That's such great writing to me. I'm not no movie critic or buff or anything like that, but, you know, honestly, I just think that movie it does stand the test of time because of how authentic it was, how organic it was for me. You know what I mean? And even though there were mutated turtles in that movie, it really didn't feel like it had that mutant aspect to it because they had some sort of like humanity to them. You know what I mean? They were really like fleshed out characters. Really, you know, it just something you relate to either one of them, and I really appreciated that about that movie. So, yeah, if you wanted to know my top 3 favorite movies, I feel like to a degree those were obvious. If you know me, at the very least, you probably could have guessed at least one of those movies. But all right, so I'm almost going into an hour. This might be an hour and a half long episode. God, I'm not sitting in my computer chair, man. This chair I'm sitting on is uncomfortable. So you might be hearing me just like adjust myself as I'm like trying to, get comfortable over and over and over. But my apologies if you can hear it. But yeah, the top three movies that I'm anticipating is, for the first movie, is the Sonic 3 movie. And if you're following the Sonic 3 news, spoiler alert, I'm gonna give you 5 seconds to hop up off this before I spoil this. So yeah, I'm gonna give you a little time. All right. Okay. So, spoiler alert. At the end of the second movie, Shadow was announced. Shadow the Hedgehog. My favorite character out of the whole Sonic franchise, man. I love Shadow. He's like the Vegeta of the Sonic universe, right? And he was announced at the end of it. Like, he was in this like frozen containment pod or whatever. And it just showed him thawing out and opening his eyes. And that was like a hype moment for me, right? And now they just announced who's going to voice Shadow, which is Keanu Reeves. And I think that is a perfect casting choice for Shadow, because he has that voice, that kind of cool but anti-hero-ish voice, you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of hard to describe for me, at least. But yeah, I can see it. And apparently it was a toss-up between him and Hayden Christensen, or at least that's just what the fans wanted, right? But yeah, it was just announced the other day that Keanu Reeves is going to be the voice of Shadow. And I'm still up in the air about what the movie's going to be about, which I like, okay? Because there's been moments where movies have given away too much with the trailers, to where by the time you watch the movie, it felt as though you've seen the whole movie already. You know what I mean? That's what happened with the first Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie. They were just releasing trailer after trailer after trailer, showing a little bit more and more and more. And then by the time I like watched the movie, there was no like excitement, because I've already seen the movie from the trailers, basically. And I wanted to be excited for that movie when I was sitting in the theaters, when I finally got to watch it, but I just couldn't, because I've seen too much. And yes, that was my fault for watching all the trailers, but I think it had been a while since a Turtles movie had been released before that one came out. So I was just too excited about another Turtles movie coming out. All right. So, but yeah, I seen this, or I watched this YouTuber by the name of Black Nerd Comedy. His name is Andre. So he does a lot of movie reviews, game reviews, like anything kind of like nerd pop culture he covers. And he made an interesting theory about what could potentially happen in this third movie, which maybe Sonic, or not Sonic, but Shadow is going to be the antagonist, and Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are going to have a tough time trying to take down Shadow. And if you have noticed in the first movie, the second movie, even in the new series that Knuckles has coming out on the Paramount Plus app, they're using their quills as a source of power. Like, if you have a quill from Sonic, Knuckles, and I'm sure even Shadow, like you have a source of the power. Like you can use it to power a machinery, right? So what kind of machinery have they not faced yet that Dr. Robotnik has developed in order to fight or take down Sonic? Metal Sonic, right? And so maybe they're going to use those quills to power Metal Sonic, so that like at the end of the movie, Shadow is going to have to team up with Sonic and Knuckles and Tails and all them in order to help take down Metal Sonic, which hopefully is going to be a little bit more complex, because yes, that would be kind of cookie cutterish from the last movie, with, Knuckles kind of being the antagonist at first, and then, him realizing what Dr. Robotnik's plans were all along before actually joining sides with Sonic, and then taking down Robotnik at the end of the movie. But what I'm hoping for is, since we got Supersonic in the second movie, we're going to get Super Shadow in the second movie. Oh my God. Like in the Sonic Adventure 2 game on Dreamcast, when, you both were Super Sonic and Super Shadow. Oh my God, dude. I'm just hoping that's what happens. I'm hoping that's what happens. And I'm excited for the Knuckles series. I think that comes out this month, actually. So be on the lookout for that if you're into the Sonic universe. And apparently what they're going for is they want to make it on the level of like the Avengers universe, like how they have all the Iron Man movie, the Hulk movie, and then the Avengers movies, and then Endgame and all that stuff. They're trying to like build that type of universe for Sonic. You know what I mean? And they're trying to like introduce more and more characters, which if you're not familiar, they have plenty more characters that they can introduce. I mean, from Rouge the Bat, from Amy, from Silver the Hedgehog. I mean, you name it, they have all these different characters, man. And I'm so glad that Jim Carrey decided to not retire from acting, because that was on the fence for Jim Carrey after the second movie. And I'm just extremely glad that he came back as Dr. Robotnik, because at first, before the first movie came out, I didn't see it once I found out that Jim Carrey was going to be Dr. Robotnik. But after seeing him as Dr. Robotnik in the first and second movie, I can't see anybody else. I love his goofiness. I love just how he brought that character to life, man. He is like, for me, the best part of the movie as far as like the comic relief goes. You know what I mean? Like, especially in the second movie, whenever he was stuck on that mushroom planet and he was like trying to make all those different teas, and it was just like, it was almost like gag reel after gag reel after gag reel in the beginning. And I just remember sitting in that theater just cracking up like a little kid, and I loved every bit of it. And so I'm excited that Jim Carrey is making his making a return as Dr. Robotnik. I really am. And I'm excited to see what all's in store for this third movie, and what all's in store for, the whole Sonic universe as a whole. Because like I said, I really do hope that they get the opportunity to expand upon this whole universe and do it right. Because I think so far they have great momentum going with the first two movies and with the anticipation of this third movie coming out. So, I mean, hell, like, I'm not sign me up. I've already been signed up. Shit. And I will say one thing, that I do dislike the whole cancel culture or whatever, like, to the utmost degree, but I am glad that they were able to use their power for good to not go through with the original design of Sonic, because that was the most hideous looking thing I've ever seen in my life. All right. But yeah, I'm extremely excited about the Sonic 3 movie coming out, as you can tell. And the second movie is the Transformers one. And I was going to record this podcast yesterday. I was too tired. I'm not even on front. And I'm trying to get better about like having an actual schedule on when I record these episodes, man, because, consistency is key, right? I get that, but I just be tired, bro. But I do want to do this. You know what I mean? I do want to like do this week after week after week, so I can bring y'all, my 17 followers, the episode that I feel like y'all deserve, but sometimes I just be tired, man. Like, I really try to power through it. I really do. And I powered through it tonight because I was on my way. I was creeping. I was cuddling up under that blanket, and I was just like, no. I got to do this. Got to let the dog out. And so I came back in, sat down, got everything set up, and now here I am. But yeah, I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah. I was going to do this yesterday, but I was too tired to do it yesterday, and so I ended up doing it today. And now that I'm talking about Transformers 1, guess what trailer finally dropped today? Transformers 1, right? And that, it was almost like it was meant for me to record this episode tonight, right? So that's what I was telling my wife today, because we went to the park, because it was a beautiful day today. It really was. It was a beautiful day. And I was telling her, I was like, I really wish this was what summer felt like. Because I think it was in the 80s, maybe like 83 or something like that. Nice slight breeze every so often, barely a cloud in the sky. just a very nice day to, you get off work, and I wasn't too tired when I got off work, which is a rarity. And we went to a park where my mom lives, and we just hung out. We just, caught up, talked, let my daughter play, and it was a good time. And I was just telling her about that, how I wanted to record last night and talk about Transformers 1, but I was too tired, and then the trailer dropped today, so I feel like it was meant to be, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, you got Brian Tyree Henderson. He was in Atlanta as Paperboy. He was the voice of Miles Morales' dad, the captain, and Across the Spider-Verse. And he's been in other projects. I think, what was it? The Bullet Train, I think that was, with Brad Pitt. He was in a few other movies that are using Godzilla as well. And I think he's a great actor. I think he's a great voice actor as well. He's voice acted a couple other things that I'm forgetting, but he's going to be the voice of Megatron, and Chris Hemsworth is going to be the voice of Optimus Prime. Michael Keegan Key is going to be the voice of Bumblebee, and Scarlett Johansson is going to be the voice of Alita 1, and I seen even Steve Buscemi. He's going to be in there, and I think a few other big celebrities are going to be in there. And I think it's going to be action-packed. I do. I like a good action-packed movie, you know what I mean? And it's going to be definitely, a comedy. I don't want to say comedy-centric movie, but it's definitely going to be some nice, comedy comic reliefs in there, especially from Bumblebee. He's going to be like the comedian in the whole movie. And it's just going back to where Optimus and Megatron were friends, pre Autobot and Decepticon War. And they were just workers below the surface level where they didn't even have the ability to transform. And so it's kind of like, they were supposed to do their job and keep their head down. But they finally go up to the surface, and once they get up to the surface, they realize how it's kind of dangerous up there. But they come across this other transformer, I guess this ancient transformer, who gives them all the ability to transform. And so now they have to use that power for the good and do whatever, or save Cybertron, or whatever it is their mission is. And that seemed like that's going to be the premise of that movie. And I'm thinking it's going to lead to something at the end of the movie to where it's going to show why Optimus and Megatron ended up going their separate ways. Optimus being the leader of the Autobots, and Megatron being the leader of the Decepticons. And originally, Optimus was Orion Pax before he became Optimus Prime, after he received a matrix of leadership, right? And so I think it's going to get into all that. And that's what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for, Cybertronian war. That's what I've been waiting for. I want all this to lead up to, something like maybe Avengers level, just like the whole Sonic universe is, attempted to do. Maybe a trilogy, maybe, 5 movies or something like that. Something in the future. Maybe they're going to do crossovers like the Rise of the Beast is attempting to do with the G.I. Joes. Who knows? You know what I mean? Because right now they're all playful and, lighthearted, happy-go-lucky. You can see, like I said, that both Megatron and Optimus Prime are friends, but you're going to see that rift eventually. You know what I mean? And then that's when things are going to start to get a little bit more serious, or a lot more serious. All these characters that we've grown to like to know and love and laugh with and all this other stuff are probably going to start falling off. Sacrifices are going to be made, and X, Y, and Z. Like, who knows, man? That's what I'm excited to, get to find out, because honestly, it wasn't the best trailer. It wasn't what I was expecting, but I do have, I don't want to say high hopes for this movie, but I am giving this movie the benefit of the doubt because I am a Transformers fan. Again, I haven't seen every episode of every Transformers show or every movie. I don't know every bot, so don't think that I'm not a fan just because I don't know all that shit. But I am anticipating that movie for sure. Like I am waiting for that movie. I got on here like Deadpool 3 that I'm anticipating, but that was only because I forgot about the Mortal Kombat 2 movie. Don't get me wrong, I am excited about the Deadpool 3 movie because they are keeping everything hush hush, and I like that. But I think I'm going to go ahead and talk about the Mortal Kombat 2 because the first one was cool, but there were some questionable things that happened in that movie that I'd like to discuss. Again, I'm going for that hour and a half. So if you're still here, I appreciate you. All right. But one thing I would say, I loved Sub-Zero in that movie. I love Sub-Zero in general. Like, he's like my second favorite character, Smoke being the first. But he was a straight up villain in that movie. More so than freaking Shang Tsung. More so than, any of the other villains in that fucking movie. This dude was a menace. Like, he could have had his own movie. Like, spoiler alert, like, whenever he led Jackson to that warehouse before fucking shattering his arms, which was dope. That was a dope part, man. That was a dope scene, man. Like, Joe Townsend did his thing. He really did his thing as Sub-Zero. But anyways, how he like kind of like teleported into, because he like turned into like mist, and like just the mist just like whooshed into the freaking doorway of the warehouse. And that's when Jax pursued him and got his shit rocked. And I'm like, man, golly, dude, like Sub-Zero was a beast in that movie, dude, for real. Like, he could have gotten his own movie, for real. And Scorpion was too. I wish Scorpion had a little bit more screen time, but it just feels like when he had like, his opening when it came to the movie, he was with his family, his family was killed by the Lin Kuei, which is Sub-Zero's clan, which Scorpion's clan is the Shirai Ryu. And Scorpion just went into a rage, as he should have, and just executed all of the Lin Kuei, but he wasn't able to best Sub-Zero, which led to his demise, right? And so that whole scene was dope. That's what I was thinking, like, oh, this movie's gonna be amazing. Just look at this. Like, look, he's just going from, Lin Kuei member to Lin Kuei member, like it's nothing, just mowing them all down. But then after that, when they flash forward to the present day, it just seems like a different movie. It doesn't seem, like the fluidity isn't there. And that's why I had a problem. You know what I mean? Like, it just, if they kept that same pace, you know what I mean? That movie would have just, it would have blown a lot of people out of the water, man. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, it had a lot of good other scenes in that movie, but there were some lackluster scenes and some questionable things, like freaking Jax getting his arms back. Like how, like the Arcana, I think is how they got their powers or whatever, and it was like their token into the tournament basically. And say if I have Arcana or whatever, which was my token into the tournament to participate in the Mortal Kombat. Say if you defeat me, then you gain a right to my Arcana, and that could be your token into the tournament. But Jax, man, like I said, his arms were shattered off by Sub-Zero. and freaking they recovered him. And so they were trying to, like, using this technology to, give him like these prosthetic arms, these cybernetics or whatever. And like he had these little baby T-Rex arms, which it was kind of like, it was funny a little bit, but it was kind of like pathetic. But then, like, once he, they give that speech, like, for everybody to believe in themselves and stuff like that, then he believed in himself, and that's when his arcana activated, and all of a sudden, his metal arms just just magically materialized. And that was that his power? That he can, make anything materialize or something like that? I just think that maybe if your arcana was, your source of your power, I think with Jax, because he's always been considered like a powerhouse, I think that's what he should have been. Like, he should have been a little bit stronger than your average human, right? I think that's what his power should have been, because, I mean, like I said, he's always kind of been like a brawler, been in the military with Sonya Blade. So I think that's probably would have been a good way to say this, how he climbed up in the ranks so easily, because he was able to always best his opponent until he met his match with Sub-Zero. And that's where he lost his confidence, which is why he wasn't sure if he was, worthy of participating in the tournament of Mortal Kombat. And that's when you give them the speech to, you got this, blah, 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 blah. And then, but I don't think that his arm should have materialized. I don't like that. I think that was a weird concept. And I think that maybe they just should have, the Cyber Initiative, whoever was in charge of the Cyber Initiative, that's where he should have gotten his arms from. Like the Cyrex and Sector and all them. I think that's where he should have gotten his arms from. But even when he would have gotten his arms, he still wouldn't have had that confidence. You know what I mean? He still would have had that doubt, because he would have been afraid of, like, maybe losing again and all this other stuff, right? And, gave that pep talk, and, he would have been good, right? But, and then he would have figured out with his mechanical arms or his cybernetics, because he's always had a ground pound, right? That he could use that ground pound with his cybernetic arms. That could have been a new ability for him. Something a little, and I know it's not realistic, but that would have made it a little bit more realistic, if you know what I mean. Like, that's just where some of my problems lie. But on the other side of that coin, I think they did a lot of good a lot of great fan service, man. A lot of it. There were so many Easter eggs just planted out or within that movie. It was just amazing. It's just like, if you were a fan of Mortal Kombat, you picked up on a lot of that shit, and I appreciated that. And so that's why I'm anticipating the Mortal Kombat movie. And I don't think anybody was expecting with this first movie that it was pre-tournament. It was just them gathering everybody to prepare them for the first tournament. And so that's what the second movie is basically going to be, is them in the first tournament. And Joe Taslim, spoiler alert, as Sub-Zero, was killed by Scorpion, because Scorpion came back at the end of the movie, which his costume design was, I want to say, on a cool level. Out of 5, it was probably like a 3.5 to me at the very most, maybe a 3. You know what I mean? It looked too bulky. It didn't look like he had like great maneuverability in that armor. I think Sub-Zero's look a lot more flexible, I guess, for lack of a better word. And yeah, I liked at the end of the movie, they had a dun 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 dun, kind of like their own version of the original Mortal Kombat theme song that still just slaps to this day. Like, I don't care if you disagree. I really don't. That song just still slaps to this day. And honestly, Mortal Kombat, the first movie, is in my top 5. So maybe I'll do a top 5 movies, and Mortal Kombat will be on that. But yeah, I'm anticipating the second movie, because since Scorpion killed Sub-Zero in the first movie, if you know the lore of Mortal Kombat, the first Sub-Zero, Joe Taslim's character, is killed, and his brother, Sub-Zero's brother, assumes the mantle of Sub-Zero to get revenge on his brother's killer. And the original Sub-Zero, Joe Taslim's character, comes back as Noob Saibot, right? And so they've already leaked that Joe Taslim was coming back, and as who else? Noob Saibot. And so they're going to have Shao Kahn in here. I forget who the guy is. I think he was like a wrestler or something like that, or he was in some sort of movie. But he's like this huge hulking dude, which, I mean, to get anybody to play Shao Kahn, that's who you should have, right? And, you know, there's going to be so many other people that like make an appearance in this movie. And I'm so excited just to see everybody just live action. Oh, man, I am highly anticipating that movie. Like I said, I had some issues with the first movie, but for the most part, I think I would give that movie a solid 7 out of 10 if I was to rate that movie. Because, yeah, like I said, I had a few problems with some of the Arcana abilities, and, you know, the Arcana was kind of like, you know, goofy, but for the most part, Sub-Zero crushed it. And yeah, if I would have wrote that movie, it would have been a lot differently. You know what I mean? Especially with Jax. I think that would have been a better suitable storyline for Jax, right? So, but yeah, those are my movies that I am anticipating for this upcoming year. All right. So if y'all have any, you know, questions, you can always hit me up on Facebook, on Instagram at Magnificent287. You know, like Magnificent instead of Magnificent is Magnificent, MAC, Magnificent287. And I'm on YouTube. I got some videos that I'm working on to put out, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, I got some other episodes lined up for the podcast, so be on the lookout for those episodes. If you're into anime, this should be a good episode for you. Hopefully y'all enjoy this, because I feel like, you know, I got something good going with these 2 guests that I'm going to have on this show talking about anime. So again, be on the lookout for that. And yeah, let me know what y'all thought about this episode. Did y'all appreciate, you know, hearing some stories about me working at the theaters? And if you worked at the theaters with me, how, you know, what was your experience working at the theaters like with us? You know, let the people know, were we a headache, were we cool, were, you know, whatever. Right. So and also, what are y'all favorite top 3? What are y'all's top 3 favorite movies, or in top 3 most anticipated movies to come out for this year? It don't even have to be this year; it can be next year, just in general. You know, if you know of a movie that you've been waiting for that's going to come out sometime, let me know. Like, for real, like, let me know in the comment section, man. I want to hear from y'all. Okay, all right. So I think that's going to do that. I think that's going to be it for this episode. So I do appreciate y'all tuning in, and my apologies for not having anything prepared for y'all to listen to me ramble over the last week. But again, thanks for showing up. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, and I'm going to catch y'all in the next one. All right. Peace.